And we are back. Yes, we are back. Indeed, Student of the Gun Radio is on the air. And we're coming back after a very long and busy weekend. We've got a lot to report back to you guys. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but what you should have figured out, if you're a dedicated student of the gun, is that we had Jared and Zachary and I had a very, very, very busy weekend. And we pre-recorded Monday's show, and we apologize for the delay in getting up, but we pre-recorded it. I love you! Thanks, Ted. Are you having fun over there?
Yeah, I'm having fun with the little Ted bear.
Yeah, Jared has his talking Ted doll, the Ted teddy bear from the movie.
Zach got me a little teddy, or he got a teddy. And
he gave it to Jared after the fight to make him feel better.
Make me feel better.
Yeah, we might as well jump right into it. For those of you who, I don't know, if you're a fan of Student of the Gun Radio, and if you listen, I don't know how you could not know what was going on this weekend. But just in case you were living in a cave or weren't caught up or whatever, Jared fought in Baton Rouge at a WFC World Fighting Championships MMA fight this weekend. And so we took off Friday. We had to go over to Baton Rouge. And if you know anything about MMA, or if you know anything about professional fights, is they do weigh-ins the day before. And they do the weigh-ins the day before, and then the fight is the next day. So Friday we had to be over there in Baton Rouge at 5:30, was it, Jared? The weigh-ins were 5:30 or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, they were supposed to be at 5:30, and then they...
Unless you're part of the people that don't want the fighters to eat or drink.
Yeah. That was not fun. But anyway, Jared weighed in, and how about you give them the thank you SWAT Fuel thing? Explain your weight cut and how the 9 mil.
Okay, yeah, for my weight cut, I've obviously cut weight before because I've been fighting for a little while.
You've been cutting weight and fighting for what, 7-8 years now?
Yeah, I think I even
since you were 18 years old.
Yeah, at least since I was 18. And so I've been cutting weight for a while, and a lot of my weight cuts were just miserable. They sucked because it's just you dehydrate your body. You don't eat food. You don't eat water, or you don't drink water. And so this one, I still had to cut about 15 pounds. I was 220 when I started the cut. I had to be 205. I cut 5 pounds immediately, almost. I think that was what I do. Is I have a specific diet that I do. I started on the previous Saturday. And then I really start my weight cut on Wednesday of the week of weigh-ins. So I decided to use the SWAT Fuel 9mm this time because we had it here, and I was like, I wonder if this stuff will help.
Well, and keep in mind that we weren't working with SWAT Fuel. We weren't really aware of SWAT Fuel and the benefits because this is the first time you fought in a few years.
Yeah, this is the first time I fought since I discovered SWAT Fuel. So.
Right.
I decided to use the 9mm, the red pill, not the Plus P, and I used that for my weight cut, and it worked great. I was still a little bit miserable, but not like I was before. I actually stayed awake on the drive to Baton Rouge. I was in the back seat, and I was coherent. I wasn't just laying back there like wanted to die.
Well, and you didn't have to do last-minute 2-pound drop. A lot of times these guys, what they'll do is they'll get there, and they get on the scale and they realize they're like 1.5 pounds over, or 2 pounds over, or 3, and then they go to the hotel weight room or the whatever, the hotel sauna, and they're sitting in there like right up until the end, like the last minute. But you woke up, when you woke up Friday morning, you were 205 something, right?
Yeah, I was 207 Friday morning when I woke up. But I just had to do my stuff before I left the house. Before I left to go to Baton Rouge, I put on my suit one more time, and I ran down the road, and I came back, and when I got in the car, I was 205.8. When I got to Baton Rouge, I was 204.2 on their scale. And it was funny because all the fighters are like, that scale was 2 pounds over, and I was like, I was fine. I went there, and I was expecting to be 206 almost, and I got on their scale, and I was 204.2.
I thought it was 0.4, but whatever.
204.4? Mm-hmm. Well, when I got there.
Well, that's what you weighed in at. That was your official weigh-in.
My official, yeah. Well, when I checked my weight, I was 0.2.
And and your opponent weighed in at like 205.5, something like that.
Yeah,
So.
he's a big dude.
And he had cut weight as well.
Yeah.
And he was miserable, too. You know what's crazy, folks, the little behind-the-scenes thing here, this is what you never see because they just put on the event and you watch it. But what you never see when they do these professional events, these MMA fights and what have you, you don't see the day befores and the people showing up that didn't make weight. And they had the event, the main event fight. Both fighters showed up. And these are pros. These guys aren't just like, dudes that are sitting around at home and I want to be a fighter tomorrow. No, these guys are professionals. Neither one of these guys made weight. Both of them were over, and they were way over.
It was funny because everybody that was from the UFC gym there did not make weight, which is crazy. I do not understand how you can be a professional fighter. People are paying you to show up there. They're paying you.
You're paid to perform. It's not just, you're not volunteering.
And I don't understand how you could not make weight.
Yeah, so the promoters had to shift. They had to shift and shuffle around and print up basically new fight cards, and they created a new main event because the two guys that were on the main event, neither one of them made weight, and neither one of them was willing to go cut. I don't know what the story was with that, but
and from weigh-ins,
you don't get money. Yeah, when you're contracted, but if you don't make weight, your total payout.
If you don't make weight,
zero.
You get $0 and probably a suspension from the athletic commission because that you can't be a fighter and then also refuse to cut weight. You can't do it.
Yeah, I mean it's not like I just found out about this yesterday. When you're the main event of a show, you kind of have a heads up. Now we had a guy who traveled over from Biloxi. He doesn't fight out of our gym, but. He actually got called like 2 weeks before and said, "Hey, we've got an opening. We've got this weight fight. Can you make it?" And so he cut.
Yeah, he had to cut weight.
He cut and showed up, and his opponent showed up too. Was his opponent over?
Yeah, his opponent
refused
was
to
over.
cut.
Yeah, he made weight perfectly fine. My friend. I actually just met him this weekend. I've heard of him, and we've actually been on the same card a couple times. But I actually finally got to speak to him this weekend. His name's David Hayes, and he trains out of Gracie United here in Biloxi. He actually cut weight, and he made his weight with 2 weeks' notice. And this other dude, his opponent, didn't make. He was 5 pounds over. And so David's like, well, if he makes an effort, if he cuts 2 pounds, I'll give it to him. 2 pounds is easy, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like
go put a sweatsuit on, get on the treadmill, and for 30 minutes.
Yeah, probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
2 pounds of water weight.
Well, with SWAT fuel, you take SWAT fuel and it'll be off in 15 minutes
that
on the
stuff
treadmill.
It was shedding off real quick. Can I thank my sponsors on our show?
The people that were on your banner.
Me,
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
People.
I'll give you that bone.
Most of the people that actually pay attention have seen the banner already, but I just want to thank everybody that supported me for this fight. Obviously, it goes past my sponsors, my teammates, my family. They put up with me during weight cuts, and I know how I get when I cut weight. This time, I don't think it was that bad, but I digress.
What did Alex say? That there's a T-shirt out that says, I'm sorry for what I said while I was cutting weight.
She said she was going to get me one that said that.
I'm sorry for what I said while I was cutting weight.
But as an MMA fighter, there's a lot of promotions that don't let you have firearm-related sponsors, and so I'm the dude that's going to bring the firearms industry into the MMA world. That's who I am, and I'm proud to be sponsored by these people. I'm going to name them off for you. I got GunDistrict.com. You know them pretty well. We're over there. Go find our page, GunDistrict.com/Student of the Gun. Our buddies at Talking Lead. Check them out. Pipers Union, Tactical Response. We got SWAT Fuel, Student of the Gun, obviously. SOE, Special Operations Equipment. John Willis is a pretty interesting dude. AAFU, Madison Rising, Leitner Wise Manufacturing. If you haven't checked them out, go. They have a sticker that says Black Guns Matter. And it's pretty cool. And then, obviously, legallyconcealed.org, our buddy EJ.
Yes. There you go. Oh, pictures. I know you hippies out there, you're like, pictures. Go to Student of the Gun Facebook, go to Student of the Gun Instagram. If you're not following us, well, you can't see the pictures if you don't follow us, so I don't know what else to say to you. A lot of you folks out there, I'm going to go ahead and, your opponent just friended us on Facebook. Cool. So a lot of you guys out there have been clamoring for the video. WFC did not broadcast it.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did broadcast it?
Yeah, Alita, the one that did my shirts. She she posted on my Facebook. She's like, I found where they're live streaming. I was like, I'll post a link. You had to pay for it to live stream.
Oh, it was a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was a subscription or $5 for the night, and it was on Reddit. So I don't know who was doing that, but
because Charles said he looked and looked and he couldn't find it. Huh?
Oh, yeah, it was on there. But I'm gonna have they professionally videoed it, and I also have my video as well. So I'm gonna take the best video and I'm going to compile it all into one. Hopefully I can just use their whole thing that they put together.
Here's what they didn't do a very good job doing. They didn't do a good job telling people how to find it.
Yeah, they didn't tell anybody.
I mean,
I just found out
because it's like
because
the best kept secret kind of thing. It's like, we don't tell anyone because they might watch.
And it might not even have been them that decided to do it. It might have been somebody in the freaking audience that had a camera. Because I don't know how Reddit works, but anybody can be on Reddit.
I don't know how Reddit works either. I think you get like gold coins or something, or magic mushrooms, or I'm not sure. But anyway, so this weekend we did that. We spent some time over in Baton Rouge on the Mississippi River.
What'd you do when I was resting?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Actually, we went over there Friday night. We made weight, and and that's really there's two real. A professional fight is not just one day. It's not just one event. It's several different events or several different stages, I guess you could say. There's the training stage. There's the cut stage. And once you do that, then there's the hurry up and wait stage. Because you weigh in and everybody's like shakes their hands and are all happy. And now you got another basically 24 hours until you fight. And there's the all right, everyone needs to be here at 4:45 or 5:45, and we're not going to have the fighter meeting for another hour and just sit around and pick your noses. And of course, Jared was a pro fight, and they had like 8 amateur fights.
I was the 10th fight.
Yeah, I think they had 8 or 9 amateur fights, and then they had 4 pro fights. And Jared was the first pro fight of the night, and then we had another guy from the gym, Zeb, was a pro fight, and then another one, and then they had the main events. So if you're the pro fight, let's say they start the fights at 8 p.m.
I didn't fight till 10.
Yeah, Jared wasn't actually in the cage until it was after 10 o'clock. So that's a long day. And it's a lot of sitting around waiting because you're pumped, your hands are wrapped, you got your gloves on, then you're greased, and you're waiting. And you're waiting.
You know how I can tell I've grown up?
How's that?
Because this time I wasn't really like antsy like I was before. Once I got my hands wrapped, I laid down on that bag
and
I just chilled for a little while. And then once a couple fights out, I started doing the getting my mind ready thing. And there's one of my friends posted a really good motivational video on my Facebook wall. If you guys are friends with me on Facebook, then you can find it there. If not, go to facebook.com/PT Jared, Jarrad, and I believe I posted it on there. That's my fighter page, so go like it.
Baton Rouge has a lot of history. Pretty much every city that's on the Mississippi River has a lot of history. And one of the things that we were able to do, Zachary and I, while Jared was relaxing at the hotel room and just taking a break, we went over to the USS Kidd, which is a destroyer museum. It sits out in the Mississippi River, and it's attached to a Veterans Memorial Museum. So there's a Veterans Memorial Museum, and there's also the USS Kidd, which is a World War II destroyer. It's only like $8. It's $8 to have the museum, and you can just tour the museum all by itself, or for $5, and then for an extra $3, you get to go on the ship, which is cheap. It's ridiculously cheap. It's well worth it. We went out there. Zach and I crawled in and out and up to on the ship. We're going to post some pictures for you guys up real soon. very, very interesting. You learn the history of the ship. The ship actually, it was commissioned during World War II in 1943, and it was named after Rear Admiral Kidd, who was killed during the Battle of Pearl Harbor on board the USS Arizona. And I know you kids who went to public school in the last 20 years have no idea about the Arizona, but you really need to research it. Something that struck me as I was walking around the museum, because it has several displays of veterans. It's a Veterans Memorial Museum, and it has the pictures of the veterans there. And most of the displays had their uniforms, their medals and ribbons, photographs of their time in the service, and a paragraph or two, or even like some of them were killed in action. And so it had the story about how they gave their lives. And it was World War II, it was the Korean War, Vietnam War, the current conflict. There was a young Marine Lance Corporal who was killed trying to save a friend in Iraq. And actually, the guy that he ran out to save, a guy was shot by a sniper and went down, and he ran out to grab him and drag him to cover. And while he was doing that, he got killed and lost his life. But the guy who he was trying to save did survive. That kind of a thing. And you read these stories and you look at these men's faces and you realize, or you should, I guess you should realize, if you're an American with a soul, that the sacrifice and the men of courage and honor that went before us, and it gives you the opportunity to pause and reflect on your own life and say, am I worthy of this sacrifice, or what am I doing with that sacrifice? What am I doing with the legacy that was provided for me? The Kid took place, it was launched in 1943. It was sent to the Pacific. It took part in the battles of the Pacific. And during the battle for Okinawa, it was struck by a Japanese kamikaze. And 38 members of the crew were killed in that attack. But the ship did not sink. They repaired it, and it actually saw service during the Korean War as well. But 38 guys lost their lives in one battle because of that. And what are you doing today? What are you doing with your life to honor that sacrifice? Are you doing anything? What are you doing with the legacy that you've been given? What are you doing with the opportunities that were secured for you? This nation, everyone likes to think that the United States of America was just a happenstance, and that, it was always going to happen, and it was just kind of a default. Regardless of what we do or don't do, there's always going to be a United States of America. We're always going to have the freedoms and independence that we have. And that's obviously not the case if you consider it. The reason that we're still able to have this discussion, that you're able to listen to me right now, that you're able to get up every morning and go do what you need to do, what you want to do in the United States of America, is because tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of men for the last 200 plus years have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And even if they did not die during combat, a lot of guys go and they pay the price and they come back home. They work, they sacrifice. And what are you doing with that opportunity? What are you doing with the country that they left you? And while we're talking about that, that's going to lead us into the main topic of this. But Jared, we're 18 minutes in, and you have not told them what happened in the fight.
Oh, you're right.
They're all out there saying, well, tell us what happened in the fight.
I just wanted to keep you listening a little longer. It was a hard-fought entire fight. It was a stand-up war, pretty much. I tried to take the knock-up times, couldn't get them down.
Pro fights are 5-minute rounds.
Yeah, 3 5-minute rounds.
5-minute rounds.
15 minutes of basically beating the crap out of each other.
Toe-to-toe combat.
Yeah. And he ended up taking the win by decision. And I have zero regrets. I did my best. He did his best. The best fighter won. I learned what I need to work on from that fight, so I will be in the gym.
Stretch your arms out and make them longer.
Yeah, I know. I need to cut some more weight next time.
Yeah, his opponent was about 3 inches taller than you, 3-4 inches taller than you, and a skilled striker. He had 10 professional fights under his belt, and essentially he was taller and had longer arms than Jared. Normally, Jared's able to take people down. Jared, this guy, Jared, tell him what he admitted to. And, before the fight, you don't go and talk to your opponents.
Like I went up and I wished him good luck.
You see him, you went and wished him good luck.
Yeah, we didn't have a conversation.
But you don't have a conversation.
And I'm glad because he was a really nice guy.
That and that is it, But tell him what he admitted to, so you couldn't take him down. Shaving.
Oh yeah, he shaved all the hair off his body so he would be slippery because he looked at my past.
He watched your videos and knew that you were going to try and take him.
Yeah, I remember 3 things that he admitted to after the fight. He said, 1, that he had knocked heavyweights out with his punches and that he was wondering why I was still standing. 2, that was his first fight that went past the first round. And 3, the shavy thingy.
Yeah, he said that was the first victory that he's ever had that it went past the first round.
Yeah. He's finished all the dudes in the first, so. But yeah, that was my first fight back in 5 years, 4 years.
Well, at least 4.
Yeah, that was my comeback fight.
Because you had your shoulder surgery 5 years ago.
Yep. And he's had 10 pro fights, and so I'm proud of myself for how well I did.
All right.
And you should be proud of me too.
I am proud of you, and everyone's proud of you.
And I'm Jared Markle, and I approve that message.
And he approves that message. And you know who else we approve of? We approve of Velocity Triggers at velocitytriggers.com. Do us a favor. Go over to velocitytriggers.com and check those guys out. And if you're a Facebooker, go to their Facebook page and give them a like, a thumbs up, a plus, or whatever you do. Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe, the most comfortable in the waistband holster, and probably the highest quality in the waistband holster you're gonna ever wear. Am I wearing one right now? Yeah, I have to. Sometimes I have to poke backwards with my elbow to remind myself that I'm actually still wearing the holster because it's so daggum comfortable. You ever done that, Jared? You're sitting in a car and you have that like flash panic moment where you're like, I can't feel my gun. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's there. Because if you've ever had a crappy holster or a bad or a not, maybe you think that the gun constantly digging into your side and you constantly being aware of your gun is how it's supposed to be. It's really not. It shouldn't be a burden. You shouldn't be constantly aware of this object poking you in the side. But if you buy a Crossbreed holster, you're not going to have to deal with that. So check those guys out at crossbreedholsters.com.
And if you don't buy a Crossbreed holster, then...
Yeah, what did Ron Burgundy say?
Yeah.
Don't forget, we already talked about SWAT Fuel, but don't forget about using the promo code. Make sure that you use SOTG2015 when you go to SWATfuel.com and check those guys out at the store. Now, before we get into the main story, I just want to put something out here. You guys have been sharing this with us. This was shared a lot last week, and we just didn't get a chance to talk about it on Monday. But it's Regal Movie Theaters begin bag search policy. And this comes to us from ABC27.com. And where is ABC27.com? I do not know. Oh, it's in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Dateline, Hampton Roads, Virginia. The next time you plan to see the newest blockbuster on the big screen, you might want to leave a little early. If the movie theater is owned by Regal Entertainment Group, you will probably be subject to a bag search. All they did was open and look. They didn't actually go through it, said moviegoer Jay Weinish.
So what's the point?
He and his wife, Dawn, first noticed a new policy earlier this month. 2 weeks ago, we were here. I was surprised, but it was perfectly fine with me, said Dawn. Blah, 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 blah. I thought they were looking for a water bottle, but they were going to take it away. Ticket takers were not, of course, looking for her water bottle, but they're looking for something else. A sign in the window says, "For the safety and comfort of our guests, backpacks and bags of any kind are subject to inspection prior to entering the facility." Yada, yada, yada. Here's the deal. It's feel-goodism. It's half measures. So, and we've actually had people write us and say, yeah, they made my wife open her purse, but they didn't realize or stop me from carrying the concealed handgun that I had on my body when I walked through. So tell me this, folks. What do you think? Do you think that this policy is going to stop bad people from taking weapons into movie theaters? You do? And
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Did the dude in Aurora, did he walk past the dude with a bag full of firearms?
I don't think so. I think what happened was, didn't he like go out and like grab the bag and bring it into the theater from an exit door or something?
And also, what happened to the one that just the theater shooting or the theater whatever just happened up in with the cop in Tennessee?
A cop?
No, well, I mean in Tennessee that we talked about with Talking Lead.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
With a dude, he supposedly had a run-in with a cop, and then he ran into the movie theater.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
And it was an airsoft gun.
No.
Ended up being an airsoft gun.
I'm sorry. I'm not. That wasn't the last theater shooting. The last theater shooting was somewhere else. Was during the train the thing with the chubby blonde hair chick.
No, the one in but I'm talking about the one up.
Oh, the guy had like a hammer or something and an airsoft gun and a hatchet or whatever.
He didn't. Did he go through the security checkpoint or did he run in the exit door?
I don't know. We're gonna have to we'll research that. My point with this whole deal is with the Regal Cinemas is A, F you, and B, there's this whole crazy thing called like the Fourth Amendment, and people are citizens can be secure in their persons, papers, and effects and so forth. You go ahead and read that whole crazy Fourth Amendment thing. Matter of fact, I could probably put my fingers on the where is it? Come on. There it is. Da-da-da-da. I just put my fingers on the Constitution of the United States of America. You say, well, the Constitution only applies to police officers and government people and so forth. I'm like, not really so much. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So, if I put up a sign, Jared, that's what I was thinking about. Can I, as a business owner, put up a sign at the front and say, everyone who enters Student of the Gun University is subject to search, and I can search people? Is that legal?
I would say maybe. I don't know. Probably not.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, it's not legal, but would you get away with it? Probably.
Well, here's the deal. All right, first of all, a movie theater, and you're like, well, that's private property rights, and on private property, they have the right to do anything they want. Really? Private property rights allow the owner to do anything they want. Can you prohibit certain... And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. The deal is this. First of all, this is not a security measure. This is feel-goodism. This is making the sheep feel good. And when it's no different than when you stand at the TSA line and you go through there and you hear idiots and sheep and morons say things like, well, I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. That's it. Surrender more of your liberty, you freaking sheep. You tool. If
it was better to be safe than sorry, then you would carry a gun too.
Yeah. I guess it's better to be safe. I guess I should just line up and take it. That infuriates me. You know why we have evil unchecked in the United States of America?
Because of people like that.
Because of you. Because of your weakness. Because you won't check it. Yeah, there's always going to be evil in the world, but the amount of evil is up to you. The amount of evil and villainy in the world is based upon the resistance or the lack of resistance of the potential victims, of the community, of the society. Yes, you will never scrub the world clean of evil. It's not going to happen. I understand that, and you understand that. But the percentage or the level is 100% up to the members of society. And when you allow it to go unchecked, when you allow people to make excuses for villainy, well, when you allow people room to destroy, do you think you increase or decrease the level of villainy and evil in your community when you just make excuses for it? We cannot sterilize the world. It is impossible. You will never be able to sterilize the world. All you will be able to do is increase the number of potential victims. If you're a student of the gun and you're allowing these pimple-faced teenagers or movie theater managers to look through your wife's purse and stuff, shame on you. Shame on you. Where does it end? What do you mean, Paul? Where does it end? No, where does it end? Are we going to do strip searches at Walmart? We're going to do cavity searches when you go to church? You go to the IHOP, they're going to stop you and frisk you before you can walk inside. Where does it stop? I got an idea. How about we have more armed, responsible, dedicated, good people as opposed to disarming all the good people? But that's just crazy. That's just crazy. All right, we're getting pretty far into it, but I'm going to go ahead and switch gears real quick. I'm going to talk about a psycho woman who, you may have seen this. Of course, all the news from this weekend kind of buried all the previous news. But this is a story from Osco. Where the heck is the Osco at? Portland. But I thought that they had all kinds of really cool gun laws. Oh, that's right. This isn't a gun law story. This is a psycho vermin story. Essentially, a woman with schizo in an Osco store, and she stabbed another woman to death just because that's what she wanted to do. Where are the sandwich makers on this? It was a woman killing another woman. So, with a knife. So, where are the sandwich makers on this? Oh, I guess we don't need more gun sense in America. Maybe we need knife sense in America. Maybe that's the... What do you think, Jared? Do you think that's the solution? We need more knife sense in America? Well, what are you saying, Paul? What I'm saying is this. This was in a grocery store, in a public area, in the middle of the day, and it was evil committed by an evil person with a sharp object. No guns involved. Evil doesn't have... It's not gun violence. It's human villainy. And human villainy can take place anywhere at any point in time. The moment you step foot out of your front door, you are subject to villainy. Whether or not you're prepared to deal with that is 100% up to you. And it's a choice. It's like Rush says, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Thank you, Geddy Lee. If you choose not to prepare yourself, if you choose just to pretend, if you play the, well, I don't go to places where bad things happen, or I'm not going out late at night, or I'm just going to run to the store real quick. Why would you need to be armed in a grocery store? What do you think's going to happen in a grocery store? I don't know. Maybe some psycho chick's going to go schizo and start committing homicide with a knife. Because that just happened for real. Not in a fantasy world, not in a movie. It actually happened. But yet we still have people that are on our side that want to play the reasonable card. I was just made aware of a story that was in Guns and Sandwiches magazine here, I guess the current issue of Guns and Sandwiches, where the author was talking about a home defense gun. Did you see that, Jared, when that was sent to us? The most recent issue of Guns and Sandwiches. And the author says, well, if you want to talk about home defense guns, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, why do you live in an area where you need a home defense gun? I'm not even kidding you.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and what's really...
I flushed that out of my mind.
What's really pathetic is the guy who wrote that story and wrote that, first thing you need to ask yourself is, why do you live in an area where you need a home defense gun? You mean the world? You mean planet Earth? So what you're saying is there are places where I can move to where I will never need to defend my home? Kind of like, that's the same mentality goes into, why would you need a gun in a movie theater? Why do you think you need a gun in a grocery store? What do you think's going to happen in the grocery store? Didn't those ninnies at our sandwich makers, Shannon and her sandwich makers, when they were talking about Kroger's, why do you think you need to have a gun in the grocery store? What do you think's going to happen there? I don't know. Maybe some psycho chick's going to whip out a knife and start stabbing grandma. Oh, that will never happen. Yeah, that would never happen because apparently there are places in the world you can go to where there's no evil or villainy. Or there isn't, and you need to be prepared all the time. And you know what's really sad, Jared? That guy who wrote that story actually has attended a tactical response training class.
Oh, wow.
And apparently he did not learn.
He didn't learn anything.
He might have learned physical skill, but he didn't learn the will. There's a big difference between learning physical skill and having the mental capacity to understand the reasoning behind that skill.
I would say your physical skill doesn't matter if you don't have the mental skill. So,
BINGO.
That's like, what's the title of this one? Something about that. It had to do with
will versus skill, the courage to do what's right.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, before we get into the main topic, because once I get into this main topic, I'm going. Frog Lube. You got a gun? You got a knife? You got something that's squeaking? I don't care. You got moving parts? Put some Frog Lube on it. Frog Lube, it just works. Check those guys out at froglube.com. Century Arms, the makers of the C39. And I hear that they make a C39 100% made in the USA RPK. I've heard about that. I don't have one. Jacob, we still don't have ours to test and evaluate for the Student of the Gun audience. So when you guys go to the Century Arms Facebook, you should say, when are you going to send Student of the Gun their RPK so they can do the review of it? And we can see it. How do you like that?
Fix the RPK
How do you like that guerrilla stuff? Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay. Oh, and off air, I'm going to tell you, I had a flash of SWAT Fuel Genius on the way back yesterday while I was driving from Baton Rouge back to Biloxi.
Oh, cool.
And I have the name for that device that's going to come down, but I'm not going to say it on the air. Brownells. Brownells.com. You can buy Duracoat at Brownells. You can buy Frog Lube at Brownells. Now, you can't buy Century Guns at Brownells.com yet, but you can buy pretty much everything else. If you got a gun, or if you are prepping for the next Katrina, you can go to Brownells.com and go to their emergency and survival gear section and load up on all the things you need. And, of course, Duracoat, those guys are our friends. If you've got an ugly gun, shame on you, but it doesn't have to stay ugly. You can Duracoat it and make it pretty, and you can be proud of it. You can get all kinds of creative. You can make it pink tiger stripe if you want. I don't care. You're an American. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Heroes on a Train. And there's lots and lots and lots of news links. You guys have all been talking about it. You've been sending us the links. And you're probably wondering why Monday's show didn't talk about it. Well, Monday's show didn't talk about it because we were fighting this weekend, and we had to... we had to do stuff. Jared, you want to go ahead and give our boys, you want to give them a go team moment? I know you do. You can do that. I'll give them the source, the particular source for this story is CNN, the CommunistNewsNetwork.com. And when the Communist News Network has to acknowledge this, you know it's a bad day for liberals and progressives in the world. That's why I say amen, nation. Oh, yeah. A good shot, man. CNN, the train was speeding through Belgium when a man emerged from the train bathroom shirtless with a rifle, possibly an AK-47, slung over his shoulders, the American said. The three men, a member of the Air Force, an inactive National Guard member, and a civilian, responded quickly, possibly preventing a deadly... Are you kidding me? They had to throw the word possibly in there? You leftist sycophant puke faces make me want to vomit. Responded quickly, possibly preventing a deadly attack. How is it? How do you throw the qualifier possibly? What was this guy going to do?
It was possibly an AK-47 as well.
Yeah, possibly an AK-47. Then they
But they're
possibly...
too dumb. They probably don't know the difference. So
The suspect had a box cutter and some other bladed weapons, authorities said. My friend Alec yells, "Get him!" So my friend Spencer immediately gets up and charges the guy, followed by Alec. Then myself, said Anthony Sadler in an interview with CNN. The three of us beat the guy up, Anthony said. In the process, Spencer got slashed multiple times by the box cutter, and Alex takes the AK away. I began to tie him up with help from Chris, another passenger. I noticed the man had his throat cut, at which time Spencer began to apply pressure to the neck wound before he bled out. You mean good guys bleed too? I thought only bad people did. Why would I want to know medical training? That's stupid. I wouldn't want to know that. You should just leave medical training to the professionals. Isn't that correct, Jared? Because, I mean, you can just dial 911 and they'll be there. Hey, Jared, if you dial 911 on a speeding train, how long does it take for 911 to get onto that train with you?
that's a very good question.
So here you are.
I guess longer than 2 or 3 minutes.
I would say longer than a couple minutes. Like, hey, I'm on, and they're like, what's your location? I don't know. We're going 150 miles an hour. Zoom, zoom, zoom. How do you get 911 response on a train? And you're going like, I never thought about that. Well, I used to. I don't fly anymore, but I used to carry my IFAC onto the plane. And people are like, why don't you just check it? Why do you think you need it on the plane? If someone starts like dying on the plane, what am I going to do? Crawl down? What you going to call 911? The flight attendants are trained in first aid. Yeah, what do they have? I guarantee you the flight attendants have one of those little aluminum boxes with the Red Cross on it that has like 2x2 gauze pads and, aspirin and some Band-Aids and what have you. I'm guessing that they don't have an IFAC and traumatic medicine training. But look, folks, this is freaking fantastic, and everybody's pretty excited about it, despite the fact that they really would rather not talk about this. They have to. I love it when the actions of good guys are so prevalent and in your face that even communist news outlets, the sycophants and the cheerleaders for the progressive state, they have to acknowledge it. Now, if you look at others, if you look at the other stories, like for instance, here's one here: meet the men who helped avert a massacre in France. Oh, so it went from possibly avoided a deadly attack to, yeah, it happened. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you guys, and this is what is important about this. These guys are unarmed because they're in Europe. Okay, they're not on official capacity. We've got a terrorist armed with a rifle. What I heard was that this guy had a Luger pistol, an AK-47, and some kind of a box cutter, razor type weapon. And one of the guys got cut up pretty good on his arm while he was attacking this guy. What do you think the security experts what have the security experts of the world been telling us for years, decades even? If you're ever involved in a situation, don't get, if you ever find yourself in such a situation on an airplane or whatever, don't get involved. Be a good witness. Don't fight back. It's not worth it. I'm ashamed. I am really ashamed of the United States military from this standpoint. When I was in the Marine Corps, when I was active duty during the Cold War, there was a lot of communist-inspired terrorism going on throughout Europe. And I spent a good amount of time in Europe. I've been to Italy, France, England. Anyway, I've been all over Europe. And when we would go on leave as active duty United States Marines, they would tell us, well, first of all, we were not allowed to wear our uniforms on leave, on liberty. We didn't take leave there, but liberty, whatever, because they didn't want us to be targets. Although, when you unleash a whole bunch of like 20-something Marines on Naples, France, it's pretty obvious that
so they all know
that they're not locals. They all have high and tight haircuts, and they all basically dress kind of the same, and but they would give us those briefings, Jared. The officers would come down and they would read the script that they had been given. And the script said, if you ever find yourself in an attack or and they wouldn't call it attack, they would call it like a terrorist incident, or because back then, here's what they were thinking. They were thinking about the whole hostage situation where the terrorists, take over an airplane, or they walk into a restaurant and they take everyone hostage and then they start blah 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 blah. Don't make eye contact. Don't be confrontational.
So hold on a second. They were telling Marines.
Oh yeah.
That their job is to fight.
No.
Not to fight, or not even to make eye contact.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Don't be confrontational. Don't make eye contact.
It's like, forget all the training we've put you through. Do nothing.
That was the script. That was the security expert script that we were given 30 years ago. And it was wrong 30 years ago, but it was reasonable 30 years ago. Because historically, most terrorist events were hijackings, where they would get on board the plane and they would hijack it and they would hold everyone hostage, and then the government start negotiating and you fly around, you go back and forth and da-da-da-da-da-da, and eventually they talk them into releasing the hostages and so forth. Unless they decide to start killing hostages, like the Navy diver Stetham. I think it was Jason Stetham. I'll have to look it up. But there was a U.S. Navy diver, and it was a very famous hijacking that took place during the 80s. And they knew they were American servicemen because they took their IDs from them. When they took over the plane, they took their IDs from them. And you know what was really insidious about that particular incident, Jared, is that only a couple of terrorists got on the plane, but then they made them fly to, I don't know, Lebanon or Algiers or someplace like that. And once they flew there, their buddies, their little goat rapist buddies, met up with them and reinforced them. And so then instead of having 2 or 3 bad guys on the plane, you had like a dozen bad guys on the plane with AKs and so forth. It started out with like a couple of terrorists with a grenade and 2 pistols, And then they allowed them to fly somewhere else and land, and then their buddies got on the plane, and then they reinforced the plane, and then it was impossible to fight back, which is essentially how things go in hostage crisis attack situations. Initially, it's kind of fluid, and if you fight back, it goes like this. What did we say, Jared? What have I been telling people for years about secondary crime scene? Never, ever, ever allow yourself to be taken to a secondary crime scene, because that is where the bad person has 100% control over you. The time to fight is when?
Now. The time to fight is not in an hour. It's not after you've been stuffed into a van. It's not after you've been taken into an alley, put in the reefer, forced into the walk-in reefer at the restaurant. That's not the time to start fighting. The longer you wait, the bigger advantage they have.
The longer you wait to fight, the greater the chances are you're going to die. So when to fight? Fight now. These guys, they were unarmed. Now, the reason that they outnumbered this terrorist. Oh, and I love this guy, the terrorist. The guy's name is like, I don't know, Ahmed the Goat Lover or something like that. But it's, and of course, the first, like, we're investigating whether or not there's a possible terrorist link. And then, of course, within hours it comes out, well, yeah, all of these intelligence services from all these European countries have this dude on a list. This dude's on a list of like known extremists. So riddle me this, Batman. What good does it have these lists? What good does it do us to have lists?
Oh, so that after they do their attack, they could say, well, we were watching them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's like J. Jonah Jameson tells us, we're closely, we know who they are, and we're monitoring them.
Obviously not well enough.
Oh, you're monitoring them? Well.
That way, if they get in trouble, you can get them out of it?
Yeah, what you're monitoring them? Yeah, and here we go. Here's the one that says, what do we know about the suspect? Well, he has a proclivity for goats. There's that.
I'm guessing
he's a member of the death cult of Islam.
What do we know about the suspect? He was a really good guy in high school.
Oh,
he's very loving and fun.
Yeah. His parents said he was a good boy.
Yeah.
Witnesses say he shot at and slashed passengers with a knife until a handful of heroic passersby stopped him. Who was the attacker on the Paris-bound train? The gunman has been identified authorities as Ayoub El Kazani, 25, a Moroccan national, who is said to have been living on the streets in Belgium, of the capital city of Brussels. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and then they go and they're like, oh, yeah. They deny any terrorist activity here. But what do we know? What we know is that the intelligence service is like, well, yeah, he kind of was a member of a radical faction. And, yeah. Folks, are we learning anything? Are we learning anything? Here's what we're learning. We're learning that all these government agencies that come out afterwards and tell you, oh, yeah, he's on a list of extremists that we're monitoring. Well, what good does that do the people that are being murdered? What good does it do the man, the woman, the child that are being slaughtered by these goat rapists and Muslim missionaries? What good does it do them for a government agency to come out the next day and say, oh, yeah, he's on a list of suspected terrorists and extremists and Muslim radicals? Oh, well, does that make the innocent victims less dead? Oh, no, but we know who he is. Well, congratulations. The takeaway and the lesson from this is will is more important or just as important than skill. It doesn't make any difference to go through all kinds of training and so forth if you don't have the will, the courage to put it into play. You know, the whole story about not the size of the dog in the fight, but the fight in the dog. Yeah, that. What your football coach showed you back in the 80s if you had a good football coach. Folks, these guys had the will to fight. And congratulations and a student of the gun go team moment to them. And if you learn anything from this incident, if you can have any kind of a takeaway, it's this. Be ready to hit the go switch right now at this moment in time. Don't hesitate. When you see the bad thing going down, that is the time. What if they would have taken the duck and cover, shelter in place? What if they would have followed the advice of all the law enforcement and security experts and just knelt down and hid? Because do you not think that all these goat rapists, Muslim missionaries, scumbags, psychos, and terrorists in the world, do you don't think they know that you and your family and children are being taught to cower under a desk? How hard is it for a guy to walk around with an AK and just indiscriminately pop people that are hiding under desks and tables? That's what they expect. They expect that you're going to cower, that you're going to get on the ground and try and hide, and they're going to walk around and slaughter you. Because that's what all the security experts tell you to do. Don't fight back. Don't take the chance. Fight back. Gut check. Develop the will. Without the will, all the skill in the world, it means nothing. All the toys, all the stuff that you went to Academy Outdoors and bought, all the guns and ammo and all the fancy cool things that you spent money on, without the will to fight, they mean nothing. And that is the takeaway from this episode of Student of the Gun Radio.
That's a pretty good takeaway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join us tomorrow. It'll be fun. If it's not fun for you, I don't know what to tell you. You need to get with the program. Thank you for listening a little bit louder each and every day. And remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.